In Berlin, about 24% of the population is not of German heritage, and of these 13% or almost 14% are not German citizens. In Berlin, we have a small UN assembly. We have 190 different countries represented. And in a city that is as multicultural as Berlin is, there is a great need for supporting structures to aid people from all parts of the world and to adjust to a living in Germany. So HSBC, that big bank, has conducted a survey where expatriates were asked to rate their experience in different countries based on economic factors, such as larger income and holidays, experience factors such as integrating into the community, logistics, work-life balance, and all these things, offspring factors such as educational opportunities and social integration of children. And the results of this survey show that work still needs to be done to help expatriates to feel welcome. Out of 14 host countries, Singapore was ranked #1, followed by Hong Kong at #2 and the United Arab Emirates at #3. So I said we had 14 host countries that were evaluated. What do you think where Germany was? 14. Well, not that bad. It was #12. #12 out of 14. So the categories where Germany scored the lowest were economic benefits, making friends, and the social integration of children. So what do the lives of real expatriates in Berlin look like? What systems are in place to help them? And what can Berlin do as a community to help ease in this situation? That's the reason why we invited a number of expatriates from almost all continents. Asia is unfortunately missing. Challenges, that's a key word. I know, Brittany, that you only arrived a few weeks or months ago all the way from Australia. So,
7 weeks ago, right.
How many weeks?
7.
7 weeks ago. So after 7 weeks, what is your assessment?
Berlin is an absolutely amazing city. The thing that strikes me the most perhaps is the diversity, not only in the architecture but also in the nature and most definitely in the people. And one thing that I've picked up in the whole 7 weeks that I've been in Berlin, that if you feel bored or if you feel that Berlin isn't suiting you, I think you're just looking in the wrong places, because I think there's so many different subcultures and so many different groups in this city that there is always somewhere for somebody to go, and there is always someone out there who has the same interest as you. You know, you have people doing juggling in the park to all the way through to making friends, you know, around another area. So I think if you're bored in Berlin, it's perhaps your own fault.
I came in August last year, and on the first day I went into an art gallery in the Auguststrasse, and I spoke to the lady who was running an exhibition, and I said to her that I would like to live like a Berliner. And she said to me, "Oh, you'll spend all your time in the U-Bahn then."
As she said, it's not possible to be bored in Berlin. There's always something to do somewhere. But I had a chance to live somewhere else in Germany first. So I built up some, I had some ideas of how it was going to be in Germany. And I thought I had Germans kind of figured out. Then I came to Berlin, and my mind was just blown. It was amazing, the diversity, and it's, as they said, it's never boring here. It's really amazing. I love Berlin.
We just heard from that HSBC survey that Germany is ranking very low in social interaction. I know if we would talk on the intercultural level about stereotypes about Germany, I'm not sure if hospitality would be one of those things that would rank very high, and connectivity and those things. And from what I hear you saying, this is absolutely different. How do you see that difference? Do you interact with Germans mainly? Are Germans open, welcoming?
I spent most of my bachelor over in Tokyo, so I'm used to living in a city about what it's like to be living completely out of your comfort zone. The only difference is that people in Berlin don't know if I'm from Berlin or not, but it was quite obvious in Japan if I was Japanese or not. And I think the reason perhaps what some of the expatriates are experiencing is that when you are in somewhere new, you really have to put yourself out there. And I think that my experiences previously, going to international universities and doing my bachelor's overseas, that you have no other choice than to put yourself out there. So it's kind of already in my nature to go up to someone and say hello. However, that has been received with a mixed reactions here in Berlin. Some people think, gosh, this girl is out of her mind, why is she speaking to me? And there's other people that are more than friendly and, you know, can go and have a coffee with. So I think in terms of the challenges that they're experiencing, I think I'm on the other end, because the only where I've been has been like amongst the younger students, so I haven't really found those barriers, especially, you know, being involved in places like Rotaract and things like that.
If this is a generational aspect, that younger people, the younger Germans you mean,
Yeah.
The younger Germans are more comfortable in speaking English and including foreign people and expatriates just because they are better trained in English in school. What is your experience in higher generations?
I actually lived in Munich when I was young. I came to Munich without any knowledge of German. Well, one sentence from Asimil, sitzen Sie sich, something like that. And so I thought that I'd better go to the university. I did 1 year at the university, and in the second year I was given a job as a technical translator in a company called Rode und Schwarz. And when I went home after 2 years, I spoke fluent German, but that's 45 years ago and I've forgotten it. When I come to Berlin, I find a new generation. Nobody ever spoke to me in English in Munich in those days. Everybody speaks English here, and I belong to Toastmasters International. They're mostly Germans and they all speak excellent English. It's really quite extraordinary. So even from an older point of view, you can integrate because your culture, in fact, is very close. I've lived in France for 45 years and I find there's much more difference culturally in France than there is in Germany between German and the English culture.
Speaking about relocating in a more advanced age, Brittany comes here as an exchange in an exchange program in her 20s, but relocating in an older age, I could imagine, is bringing in different challenges. What are the differences?
I came here originally for about 6 months, from August to January. But every 6 months in Paris, I go to the dentist to have my teeth cleaned. And I made the mistake of going to a dentist here. And the German's being so thorough, he's been working on my teeth from January and will continue until November. And so I thought I might as well stay here for another Christmas.
Leila, what challenges do you see being in this city, also with the aspect of having a different skin color? That is also always an issue. I've myself lived for an extensive time in a country where I had the different skin color, and I experienced that. What are your experiences in this regard in Berlin? Is this a difficulty for you?
Yeah, I come from Ethiopia, and it's obvious that I am a foreigner, and everybody knows when they look at me. And to be honest, Berlin was the first place where I actually felt like that is an issue, or that can be an issue. If I'm found at the wrong place at the wrong time, that can be a problem. But lucky for me, I have managed to make good German friends, and I'm usually around with a lot of Germans, so there's always someone telling me, okay, how to be careful, what to do. But it's a big city, as we all know, and there are also all kinds of people, and some people have their own idea of how Germany should be or how Berlin should be. And I've had some experiences, and it shocked me for a while. But the thing is, the positive side of Berlin overcomes these experiences that come here and there. So I don't really let it affect me as much. But I did have some experiences, and I come from Ethiopia, so we were never colonized, and we're very proud of that fact. And we never had this feeling of we were never sensitive to our skin. So coming here and being some people saying some things or acting in a certain way, I couldn't immediately connect it for the lack of language and for the lack of understanding body languages as well. But other people had to warn me, and they say, you need to be careful, you need to do this and that. And it was an experience, but I don't let it affect me.
Brittany, you just told me that in Tokyo you had a very interesting job that is very closely related to what we are doing here. What did you do there?
I spent 3 years in Tokyo during my double Bachelor of International Business and Japanese. In my first year, I was an exchange student, which is where I developed my language. And in my second year, in my final year of studies, I did like a practicant year internship. And I was doing that at Robert Bosch, where I was in their international assignment group, and I was in charge of sending Japanese expatriates to Stuttgart. So I had a lot to do with Japanese people and their challenges in Germany.
And what were the challenges that these Japanese going to be expatriates were facing or discussing? What were their concerns that they shared with you as you were preparing them for Germany?
Right, there was a myriad of concerns, obviously, with, depending on family to family, but one of which, of course, is not necessarily the communication, because they went through intensive language training, as well as the wives and as well as the children. But one of the huge differences was how you communicate in Germany. For example, in Japanese, you never ever say no directly, and that's just simply not the case here. So, and in Japan, and especially in Asia, it's very difficult to separate the person and the problem. So if there's an issue with a project, or if there's an issue regarding something very generic, being at work, it's nothing personal, your German manager will bring it up with you and say, for example, there's no need, for example, the Japanese expatriates to stay at the office till 11:30 at night, every single night like they do. That's not necessary. They might be working with them to think of a better way to work or something like that. Like, there's a reason why they're there until 11:30 at night. Is it culture? Are they having issues with their job? And when you approach, especially someone in Asia and especially of Japanese culture, it's very hard to separate the person and the problem. So they take that as a personal attack. Whereas in Germany, it's considered constructive criticism. And if anything, it's open for discussion, and we can talk about how we can move forward together, which is one of the reasons why your country is so efficient and can be so innovative.
And now that you had worked in that program,
Right.
preparing Japanese for Germany, I find that very interesting. An Australian is preparing the Japanese
It's the
for
world of
Germany. I love it. I love it.
Globalization.
Yeah,
Globalization.
couldn't be better.
Right, exactly.
And now you're ended up yourself being here.
And
in
now
Germany.
I'm one.
Now
Yeah,
you're here.
exactly.
Are
Yeah.
there any differences? Did you get what you expect?
In Germany?
Yes.
Yes and no, for sure. For example, I am from Australia, and in Australia there's not really a lot to worry about. To be honest, the weather's always nice. Everyone's always really positive. And one thing is that I am always saying, "Oh, but it'll be fine." And in Germany, I feel like one of the catchphrases is "the point is, the problem is, the issue is, the thing is," and that's how sentences start. And I always say, "Oh, I'll be fine. Don't worry about it." And that's not really goes down very well here.
How did you get to prepare to come to Berlin? Did you use any trusted sources, contacts, internet, organizations, or did you use services like BAMIK, doing intercultural training, anything like that? How did you prepare for your time in Germany?
I worked for 30 years in Paris in an international organization, and in Paris you can be in an international organization and not feel that you're in Paris. You're in the whole world. So really it wasn't difficult for me to prepare. I filled 2 suitcases and I took the plane and I came.
I come from the opposite side of the world, and I worked in international organizations, so I thought I have an idea of what foreign country would be or what Germany would be. So I thought, no, I have it figured out. I'm just going to go and see what happens. And then it was a total culture shock. Completely. It's a different thing to know someone in your own comfort zone coming from a different culture into your place and having that experience, and you going in someone else's comfort zone and being put with all these new ideas, new points of views, and clashing views at several levels. It was really an adjustment, and I wish I had known about BAMIK or Internations or these different resources that are available. But to be honest, now that I'm here, it was difficult, but I'm glad I went through it, because now I've learned so much, and I mean, I can talk to you easily without really offending you much, really.
I think one thing that's really important is to have your objectives about why you're here. And I have 2 objectives here in Germany. Number 1 is to learn the language, and number 2 is to understand what it's like to be in Europe and how Europeans are. So I think as long as you've got your objectives about why you're here, it gets you through those kind of like tough days when you kind of think, oh, this is really difficult. So I think in terms of preparation, the first step is really that emotional, what am I doing here? Have your strong objectives. And I think once you get to the country, that's when you really can do your actual practical, technical, cultural training sort of thing, because you can't learn it in a textbook.
I think that this is a very valid and important point. If you focus on your objective, if you maintain your objective, one of the risks that people are facing is that of a culture shock. Yeah. And I think one of the strategies to avoid culture shock is to not to lose your objective while you're in that country. It's easy to lose that objective if you lose the social networks, the social interaction. And that's why I really appreciate networks such as Internations, because I think those networks help people to maintain focused on the reasons why they're here. I'd like to thank all 3 of you. I think this was a wonderful round of starting this intercultural forum on expatriate lives in Berlin. We'll now do a little intermission and switch the panelists and then continue with the second round. Thank you very much for being here and for your experiences. Thank you.